That's a lot. Okay.
Coffee. It's nice and roasty. It makes me think of a dish at a place I used to work at that did like salmon crudo with coffee oil. So I know it works.
Cured salmon, coffee mustard on top. Just make it look like a cappuccino.
Oh. Personally, I don't see the vision, but man just did a pickled custard that was one of the best things Tom's ever eaten in his life. So who am I to question him?
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for pushing play on my little podcast. I appreciate it. A couple of reminders just to continue following me on socials at Eat Your Content at Rich Herrera. So you'll know we have some cool little clips from the full episode that you can check out there. And also follow me anywhere you get your podcast at Eat Your Content. So you'll know when new episodes drop if you hit that like and subscribe and the bell button. Program reminders, we are, about halfway through Top Chef Season 22. So looking forward to continuing on. And joining me once again is the wonderful Chef Savannah Miller, Top Chef Season 21 finalist. Chef Savannah, welcome back.
Hello. Happy to be here. I feel like we're definitely halfway through because we got a sneak peek of next week, right? So that's our marker. So I'm really excited. I feel like, we're really like getting to know these people now.
I'm starting to remember names. I'm starting to remember names now.
Especially a few of them.
Yeah. So it's always tough in those first few episodes. I'm like, who are you? Who are you again? So I kind of feel like right about now, you're starting to really get to know some of these folks and their cooking style and what to expect from them. So it gets really exciting basically from right before Restaurant Wars forward to really you start empathizing and identifying with a lot of the chefs and just really, really excited for the rest of the season. So let's jump right in. I mean, really emotional, kind of heavy opening. I was kind of surprised. Usually the openings that we've been getting have been a peek in the life of like dorm life, so to speak. We have yoga, we have, somebody cooking breakfast, we have the Runners Club from your season. But this was really heady. I mean, you had Henry having this kind of like epiphany moment and talk about he always cooks with walls up and now he feels like he's holding himself back, but now he feels like he's gonna do these challenges in a different light, which is one hell of a foreshadow given how he performed. We'll talk about that later. But Vinny, Tristan finally told Vinny what he needed to hear. I really wish the judges told him that, but I'm glad somebody finally told him.
But we finally see that clip. That was in the promo. And I always wondered, like, ooh, I just remembered him saying that, and I was like, that's going to be a moment. And I'm happy that it was more of like a friend to friend moment.
Yeah, but it really seemed to hit home for him and made him realize that he wasn't cooking himself, and he was kind of like he was cooking as an homage to his mentor. The passing of James Kent recently had a huge effect on his life, and he felt like he was doing this for him. And then when Tristan said what he said, he realized that this is not what his mentor would want. And did we kind of see him turn a corner this episode, do you think?
I definitely think so. And like, I feel like watching last week and just knowing him and Danny and their relationship, I was curious if there was more to that because it seemed like that would be a bigger deal than what we saw.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm assuming how Vinny probably felt about it. And I'm happy that we kind of got like to close the book on it because I was wondering how he felt. And it was a little sad, but I think it's positive, right? Like, I think it's something to motivate him to change.
Yeah, clearly he felt like Danny was sort of a mentor peer because he really wanted to impress him, and the fact that he didn't really got to him. But yeah, watching this episode last night, I feel like Vinny's starting to turn a corner. He's starting to kind of embrace his fun side a little bit, which I think is just going to improve. He's technically great. I mean, we talked about it last week. He doesn't suck. He's technically great. He just isn't cooking with heart. And today he did. Referencing a backyard pizza cookout with his brother. I mean, that's the stuff that you dig into, right? To pull out and present yourself. And you just turn that up to 11.
Watching him like cook that pizza, I mean, he looked like he was having fun. I think that's the food that you're always like, that's probably going to taste great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a Reuben sandwich. I love a Reuben sandwich, and in the form of a pizza. I mean, you can't fail with that. So, but we'll dig more into that. But what did you think, just leading off with this emotionally this emotional opening for Top Chef?
I definitely thought, like, again, I was happy to close the book on the Benny situation, but overall, like, I don't know. I think it kind of set us up for how the episode was. I mean, for me, it kind of felt emotional. I don't know if it's just because of the highs and the lows of everything. But I also liked the juxtaposition of like, oh, we're having a pizza party, but everyone's crying in the beginning.
It's like
You know what I mean?
pizza. Yeah, it's like a pizza party at the office when you're supposed to get a raise.
I know. I'm accidentally doing a promo. I didn't even realize my Frank Lloyd Wright mug today.
Oh, wow. That's fun. Wow.
Throwing it out there. Yeah.
Sipping the duality of Frank Lloyd Wright there.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just said juxtaposition. Like what? There you go.
There you go. It never really leaves you, does it?
It never really leaves you. No. Every time I wake up and drink this mug, I'm like, ugh. Yeah.
Oh, that challenge.
Oh my gosh.
Let's jump right into the
Anyways.
quick-fire. Another kind of, I don't want to say ham-fisted, but another corporate-sponsored quick-fire. This one's from Finish. I'm more of a Cascade guy myself, but Finish, I honestly thought it was pretty interesting, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but having this kind of like dirty dish, create something new from it challenge made me think back to what we just saw of this emotional opening of like, they're washing themselves of this like bad headspace that they're in and coming out clean, which I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm overanalyzing, but that was a heck of a bookend. I mean, did you see that, or am I like going crazy?
You are their target audience, Rich.
No
you
kidding.
are. No, that is what they want. You know, I mean, I'm not sure, but that was a really beautiful interpretation of it. So now that is how I look at it. That wasn't where my head was. I was just thinking like, you know, I actually feel like they do one of these every season, right? Like Cascade probably has a good amount of money in the pot. But I was just laughing like, here we go again. And it's kind of like two challenges in one, right? Like not only do you have to like work with like something that's stuck on this plate, but like, and get inspired by these leftover dishes that you can only smell. You know, it's always just so silly. But I was not surprised. I feel like they'd probably get a decent amount of sponsorship money from Finish.
Yeah. I'm thinking this is what we're going to see in quickfires now, just these corporate sponsored quickfires, which I guess is fine. And this one, it was okay. Just the way I interpret it. I do another podcast on the side where me and a couple of guys do these like comic book and TV shows, and we kind of interpret them. So I was kind of in that headspace because we were just talking about Andor season 2 and what does it mean. And so I just watched that, and then I watched this, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. They're just washing themselves clean of the bad headspace. And anyway,
you're breaking it all down. Yeah,
I'm breaking it way down more than I probably should. But it is kind of a silly quickfire. It is kind of funny. They're pulling these dirty dishes and smelling them, and Kristen's like, you probably won't want to lick that. But it's pretty interesting how quickly some of these chefs figured out, you know, what it was that they were cooking.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fun challenge, and the winner gets $10K, so they got to make a dish. So let's talk about some of the top and bottom dishes, just to condense it a little bit. Henry's. I got to talk about Henry's for just a second. He did a glutinous rice ball filled with maple butter, toasted oats, and oatmeal broth. And the moment Kristen said it tasted like my childhood breakfast, he won.
Yeah.
He won. And they're normally, what I thought was funny about quickfires is they normally keep kind of their comments close to the vest until they're all gathered again, together again. But how do you not win after hearing that comment? What did you think of Henry's dish?
Oh, I thought it was so cool. Like I can imagine, I love like rice dough, anything, and that texture, that chew. I literally was like making naan last night, and I was like, I'm going to put sweet rice flour in this. And like, it was so good. You know, I feel like I'm putting it in everything lately. So that's definitely my type of dish. I loved how simple it was. You know, when you're looking at it, it's so elegant, and there's like so few things on the plate. And for Kristen, especially, I think everybody wants something that's nostalgic, but like Kristen dies for that. Like, it seems like that's her specific brand of like what she wants, something that's like refined, but it reminds me of something I ate as a kid or what I get in the drive-thru at 2 a.m., you know? Yeah. So I think he made something really relatable in that way, but he really classed it up.
Yeah, call it the ratatouille moment, right? When the food critic from Ratatouille takes that first bite and he's instantly transported back to his childhood. That's Kristen. She wants to be reminded of something, something nostalgic. And to me, I was the same way. I saw that and it was really elegant, very minimalistic, kind of monochromatic in the best way. But I identified with what Kristen said because Filipino food, there's a lot of like that gelatinous rice type of desserts. Biko is one of my favorites, and it's just like that. So it was like, yeah, that's definitely something I would want to eat. So as soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, he's got this in the bag. You tell the other two to sit down because it doesn't really matter at this point. But
and it is a lot for her to say that because you're right. They normally don't. Like they'll be very reserved, and so for her, it's like the moments in the show when she's like, "Fuck, that's so good." She just can't help herself. It was cool to see.
Yeah, it's good. And you just can't keep that emotion in. You just have to get it out. So that's always fun to watch. Massimo had a good looking gnocchi dish, looked fantastic. Tristan's jollof rice looked good. I do want to talk about Massimo again because he's such a ham. In the confessional, he's like, "Is my hair looking good? My hair look good?" Despite health regulations, that man's hair has never seen the inside of a hairnet. I guarantee it.
You know what's really funny? That this would be something that like I don't think anybody else would pick up on. If Taylor, the producer, is listening, I'm pretty sure you can hear. You know how it'll say in the confessional, like producer speaking back. It'll just like a subtitle, and he's like, "Is my hair looking good?" And it's like, "Oh, your hair looks great." Like that was the person that responded. It sounded just like Taylor, who was like basically like the Ken California Malibu version of Massimo. And they kind of look similar to me, but he's blonde and like same build. And I can just imagine Massimo being like, "Does my hair look good?" And Taylor being like, "Oh, your hair looks great, man." Like, and he would believe him. So that was a funny little moment for me. But yeah, Massimo, this whole episode was hilarious to me, and Cesar a little bit in the first half.
Yeah. So Taylor, if you're listening, producer Taylor, put it in the comments, confirm that was you. I would love to know if that was you. That'd be hilarious. And then get on my podcast and I want to talk about all these Massimo moments with you because they had to be hilarious, the behind the scenes stuff of what didn't make the cut, right? What ended up on the cutting room floor has got to be funny. So
because what made it into the show is gold already.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Like what did make it? I want to see that. So the bottom of the quickfire, we had Paula with her veggie lasagna. Not a surprise. It was kind of funny when she walked up there because like, what are you doing? That doesn't sound great. Yeah. She knew that it messed up. And then Bailey had a backfire on her guacamole salad. It was more like an avocado salad. They wanted guacamole. And then Cesar's salmon cappuccino thing. I think he was feeling himself after the pickle custard. And it was like, I'm just going to throw some random ingredients together because what could go wrong? Well, clearly a lot. So let's talk about the bottom. What were your thoughts there?
Yeah, Caesar's like, well, I'm like Frankenstein, like I can piece stuff together or whatever. I think that I love that mindset, and I love that even Kristen gave him a shout out for like being creative. Because I think that's important. Like it's kind of like giving somebody positive reinforcement for taking a risk because you want people to do that. But it makes sense. And yeah, I mean, Paola watching the lasagna, I've been there, I've had those moments, but it was just kind of like, ooh, you want to look away because it just the clock is ticking. You have no choice. You have to keep plating and like you have to put something on. But she knew that was not great.
Yeah. And Bailey, now, one thing that's interesting, I just had avocado toast for breakfast this morning, right? And it is, I mean, it's avocado forward. I mean, there's obviously some things in guacamole that make it guacamole. You got, your citrus, you have, some red onions in there, some jalapeno. So do you think that's what was just missing? Were those elements of guacamole that make it guacamole?
I think a little bit more of it, maybe. I feel like maybe, did she have cilantro in the dish? That's what I was wondering. I know she did like a cumin agave vinaigrette, which to me makes sense. Like you're pulling in some of those flavors. But for me, I think like cilantro avocado would kind of, if I had to pick one other thing in guacamole that I'm like, oh, like you can have a little spice. Like she's adding some of those flavors, but maybe I would have gone more like coriander versus cumin. Again, that's like, I would have to actually read the dish description again, but I'm pretty sure that was the one thing I thought was like, it sounded like a great salad. And I love like a sweet, like cumin, like toasted cumin salad dressing specifically. But if you're trying to get those flavors, maybe it's like, was there like a little spice missing or is there a different herb you could have highlighted?
Yeah, I guess when you close your eyes and if all you're tasting is avocado, I guess I get that. But as I was making my avocado toast with goat cheese this morning and some everything bagel seasoning on top, I was like, it really just tastes like an avocado, just maybe turned up a little bit. So I guess you just didn't add
Yeah.
those guacamole elements. I don't know. We didn't taste it, but it looked fine to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Should-
It sounded like a great salad. I was like, that sounds delicious.
yeah,
So
yeah, me too. Me
it's not
too.
guac enough.
But Henry wins. He gets 10K, so good for him. Yay, Henry. So good job with that. So right into the elimination challenge. I mean, we got some heavy hitter judges for the
Yeah.
elimination challenge. We got Wiley Dufresne, who's just a mad scientist in the kitchen, considered to be the founder of molecular gastronomy and all that. And then you have Spike Mendelsohn, which we haven't seen in a minute in the Top Chef kitchen. Top Chef All Star. He was season 4 in Chicago, I think they were showing. So long
The
time there.
hat.
Yeah, the hat. Yeah, yeah. And it was that in Chicago. Yeah, that was funny. It was kind of funny in the at the judges or when they were serving. He said, "Hey, good to see you back." So, oh yeah, the restraining order just expired.
I know.
That was hilarious.
He's
That was
so funny.
hilarious.
I mean, I love like it's just like an ode to like the old Top Chef days.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was cool to see Spike it again because I haven't heard from him or of him since then, and I was like, I wonder what he's up to. Well, he's got a pizza place now, so good for him.
Did you ever watch Life After Top Chef?
No, I missed that one.
It was this little reality show. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. You can still watch it. Like they had a season or two, and it was like Jen Carroll, Spike Mendelsohn, like somebody else, and it was like them at the Aspen Food and Wine show, and it was like, you know, following these chefs after their Top Chef fame, and it was like just like a year, and it was basically like putting them all in the same room and having them gossip and like more of a reality TV show.
Yeah,
It didn't continue on, but I think there's a few people who I've always thought would be perfect for that if they decided to pick it back up.
I'll have to check that out. It's probably on Peacock. I'll have to look it up
Yeah,
and
it's
check it
very
out.
2000s.
Because they're always there's always that part of me is like, where are they now? And occasionally I'll be thinking about something. I was like, oh, I wonder what they're up to, and I'll just Google it, and I'm like, oh, well, that's great. So yeah, I'll have to definitely check that out. So
Check it out.
so we have a pizza challenge, and are you like a thin crust, thick crust? What kind of pizza do you like?
I love all pizza. If I had my perfect pie, right? Like I really do. I like probably thinner. You know, I do like I like more of like a sourdough, like thinner, like big bubbles on the crust, smaller pies, hot, lots of char. Like that's kind of my thing. But I can definitely get down with like a huge, sloppy, greasy, extra cheese. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
There's a time and a place for everything. What about you?
I'm of a Detroit style, kind of a thicker crust kind of guy. There's a chain called
Yeah.
Jets, which no free ads, but I love Jets. Jets Pizza, that serve like this really
Yeah.
great Detroit style thick crust, crispy crust, buttery. It's delicious. But I do love a good thin crispy crust too. So I'm kind of like you.
I think I just tried that for the first time, Jets Pizza.
Really? What'd you think?
I think it was when I was in Chicago, because there was one night that we were with Sue hanging out, and he was like, "Oh, we're just gonna like get pizza tonight and like play board games." And I was like, "Oh, cool! Like we're in Chicago." And he's like, "Well, this is a chain, but like it's probably my favorite like chain pizza here, so we're gonna get it." And it was Jets.
Yeah, Jets is probably my favorite chain pizza place. Now, if I only got $5 in my pocket, I'm gonna go drive through Little Caesars. If I'm really
Oh yeah,
if I want Mrs. Right Now pizza, I'm getting Little Caesars. But if I want Mrs. Right pizza, I'm going to go to Jets. But
there you go.
yeah, so and there was a debate in this pizza challenge as they were eating Chicago style deep dish pizza. Is it a casserole or is it a pizza? Like, or they called it lasagna. You know, what do you think? There's a big divisive two schools of thought on that.
I think that's everyone. Like, if you grew up with something, that's what it is for you, right? Like, people can be purists. I mean, we watched Paula make a lasagna with butternut squash. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I think I definitely have a preference, but I would say that deep dish is still pizza. It's not a casserole.
It's a pizza.
Yeah.
So we got a bit of history, Canadian history. We lamented last week about like the pickle challenge and the quickfire challenge having no like Canadian connection, right? So I don't know, they go out of their way a little bit to talk about the Canadian pizza connection. Hawaiian
They're
pizza.
listening.
Yeah, I know. Hawaiian pizza, funnily enough, was created in Canada by a Greek and not in Hawaiian. And he used pineapple that was from Hawaii, hence the name Hawaiian pizza. A lot of kind of like Chicago deep dish pizza, a lot of division of pineapple on pizza. Are you a pineapple on pizza type of person?
That's the one thing I will say. Like, why are we putting? Yeah, if you put pineapple on it, maybe I wouldn't call it a pizza.
I mean, you're great, but you're wrong.
I was like, we're either gonna just like completely solidify our friendship over this, or it's gonna cause an issue.
This could be what breaks us.
Don't know.
I love a good ham and pineapple pizza. It's salty and sweet in all the right ways to be, and it's delicious. I don't know why. My wife introduced me to. I was like you at first. Pineapple and pizza
Yeah.
just sounds weird, but my wife loves ham and pineapple pizza, so she introduced it to me,
Fair.
and I started eating it. And I was like, you know what, this ain't bad. This ain't bad. And then I started adding like olives on it, so that extra salty
Ugh,
bite on top of the ham.
you need to be arrested.
I'm turning in my foodie card right now. I'm turning it in.
It makes sense. I will say, like, I understand. Like, if I close my eyes, I understand. That's what I'll say.
It's salty sweet for me. I love salty sweet. I love kennel corn. I love salted caramel, whatever. But I don't know. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
So there was also a sushi pizza that apparently was invented in Canada. So I have not had a sushi pizza. What's the most gimmicky pizza you've ever had?
Like the little, and if we're gonna call out Little Caesars, like the extra most bestest or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
probably if I
yeah.
was gonna say, like, because of the name. I mean, I feel like I'm really not. Oh wait, hold on. I guess, am I allowed to say this?
Sure.
I mean, Morimoto made us a tuna pizza.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. In your season, you had a tuna pizza.
Yeah, sorry, Little Caesars, you don't get my ad time. Basically, yeah, I mean, it was delicious, right? And like his whole concept was like, oh, this is like something I do in the restaurant. It's like a gateway for people who maybe wouldn't eat raw fish. And like, I'm like, well, then why are you at Morimoto's restaurant? But he's like, he does like a tortilla that he crisps up, and that's like the circle on the bottom, that's their dough. And then he does like the raw tuna, and I think it was like Caesar dressing and like raw onions and like something like that. And it was delicious, but definitely the most gimmicky pizza I've ever had.
I remember that now. Yeah, it looked pretty cool. I almost hate to say gimmicky and Morimoto in the same sentence. I feel like that's
I
like,
agree.
but I get it. It's not a pizza you're gonna see every day. What I mean by gimmicky. So Morimoto, on the off chance you're listening to
100%.
this, not an insult to you, sir. You are
So
great.
delicious.
So
Yeah,
delicious.
I have since tried to make it at home, and it wasn't as good. So I mean, I'm definitely not saying that's like an easy route. I just like, yeah, I think if you're going to call it pizza, that's probably that one I would answer
Yeah.
with.
I mean, I will say this about fast food pizza though. They get the gimmicks down. Like we were talking, Little
Yeah.
Caesars and like Domino's and Pizza Hut. They do all these weird crusts and stuff like that. So, California Pizza Kitchen also has some gimmicky pizzas. I had like a duck. I remember having like a duck and fig or something pizza at California Pizza Kitchen once. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. So the challenge here was to create a pizza that pushes the boundaries. So gimmicky or not, is it a pizza that's going to make you go, whoa, this is not the type of pizza I've ever had before. So pretty interesting challenge. I think the biggest challenge in any kind of pizza challenge is that crust, right? If you don't get the crust right, it doesn't really matter what you put on top, because the vehicle holding it is just, if it's awful,
Gone.
none of it matters. And I think we saw a lot of that in this challenge, where the crust
Yeah.
just went wrong and the toppings were just there. And to have Wiley Dufresne judging you, and he's talking about, oh, good honeycomb pattern on the crust, like he gets in it. That's got to be
Yeah.
intimidating. What did you think?
This was like my worst nightmare watching. I mean, honestly, like I just think it's hard. I think asking them to make a really good pizza and like, oh, you have a choice of this oven or that oven. It's like, that's great. But if you don't make pizza, you're kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I can't wait to figure out what oven I want to use. Like, you don't even care. I feel like that's not your first concern. Like, the budget was really tiny. I think, one of my notes I wrote down was like, making a joke about finish. I was like, well, they're paying for like the Quickfire time, but like, where's the money for the elimination challenge? Like, why do they have
Right.
$250? I think it's just really hard. And again, like you can have a really good concept, but like if you just can't make a good pizza dough, or you can't like anticipate what might happen with a pizza dough and how you have to react to certain things, or how you need to like safeguard yourself from completely ruining it, it doesn't matter how good your idea is. So that's a really technical, hard challenge.
Yeah, I mean, you think of pizza, it's so simple, but it's not. There's a lot of science involved in creating the dough, and there's a lot of science
Yeah.
in what you put on top of the pizza. I thought it was really interesting when the judges were in between courses talking about, oh, what do you put on your pizza? And somebody said dry mozzarella because you don't get as much moisture as it cooks. And I was like, I never thought about that. Like you don't think
Yeah.
about that. You want to put dry, kind of dry-ish ingredients that aren't going to leach
Yeah.
out a lot of liquid. And we see that failing on some of the chefs here. That turns your dough raw. It just doesn't cook because there's too much liquid in it. But yeah, you mentioned the budget. I want to talk about that for just a second. $250 at Whole Foods. That's a joke. I mean, that's horrible for a grocery trip for a family of four, let alone trying to
Yeah.
make pizzas, what look like, 10-inch personal size pizzas for 70 people. I mean,
I think
they're
they're banking on the fact that your like flour and water is cheap. But like most people, like I just don't think that everyone makes pizza every day. Like I just don't think that you have a good grasp on like how much do I need to buy? Like that would be my issue. I would be like, how much dough do I need to make? You know
yeah.
what I mean? I don't. That would be the first thing I'd worry about.
And we're not just talking about just the basic ingredients of flour or whatever, but we're talking about high-end pizzas now. And so you're at Whole Foods getting probably the better ingredient. Like we're not talking about you're getting a bag of pepperoni from Hormel, or prepackaged
Yeah.
shredded mozzarella. You're getting the high-end stuff. Somebody got brisket, somebody's getting, chicken thighs and stuff like that. And so 250, I was like, man, what do you like? That's almost unfair.
They call it what do they call it? Like whole paycheck
Whole
instead of Whole
paycheck.
Foods?
Yeah,
That's how it feels.
that's exactly right. And that budget kind of became a concern for Henry as he was trying to like, how much is the basil? He forgets a bag of flour in his cart.
I know.
You gotta hate that. If the sabotage from last week wasn't enough, he self-sabotages this week.
It's just very small stuff. It's like even like very successful smart chefs can like make that mistake.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised, as chaotic as Whole Foods looks on TV when you're doing the shopping and grabbing all the ingredients and trying to find where things are. I'm really surprised that doesn't happen more often, of people just forgetting things in the cart.
Yeah.
I mean, how meticulous were you when you did your Whole Foods runs and you get to the counter and you're like, okay, before I check out, I got to make sure I got everything.
I think that I always felt pretty good about making sure I had everything. Like the timing wasn't the big issue for me. It was more like budget. Like I just love to spend. So I feel like when I was checking out, my big thing was like, I'm going to start with the things I can't live without, and then we'll fill in the gaps. So for me, it was just more about like picking and choosing at checkout versus the other aspects of shopping.
So you just kind of threw your wish list in the cart, and then as the dollar amount kept going up, you're like, maybe I can do without this or that.
100%. I would feel bad because I was like, I'm not going to waste time like trying to like, obviously you're like running a budget in your head, right? Like, but I think I would just be like, okay, I might use that, because I think that a lot of times it's possible you could get there and you still have some left, or like maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe I don't need two of these, and then I would love to just have my other backup option like in my cart. I'm sure like the shopping clerks at Whole Foods hate to see me coming because they're like, this girl's going to leave half her cart here and we're going to have to put it back. But that was something that I found kind of helpful, was like, just throw it in there and like make those decisions game time.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Henry's pivot here in just a minute, but man, I hate it for him. He didn't have enough flour, and once, and they described it perfectly. Once you're in that downward spiral, it's really hard to get out. So we get back to the kitchen and they're starting their cook on their dough. I saw some really interesting hacks of how to get your yeast fermented quickly, because it takes time and they didn't have time.
Yeah.
So Tristan used beer, which for him turned out great. And then I think it was Paula that used milk and sugar, which turned out not to be great.
Bad.
So walk us through why one worked and one didn't.
Well, I mean, so beer already has so much fermentation, right? Like you're essentially just taking like this Kickstarter bomb and you're throwing it into this dough. And especially if you have to do something like this. I mean, at the restaurant, I am not the pizza master, but I did work at a restaurant where we had several people who are dough specialists. And so, I mean, on our menu, we would do, I mean, that would sit for like 2 days, 3 days tops, right? Like that's the max we would let it ferment. But like, depending on the temperature and how long you're controlling it, like you can really build flavor in a short period of time in the Top Chef kitchen by using things like beer, because you don't have 3 days. You don't have that temperature control. Like you're going in this walk in or you're going over here. Like it's not something that you can really dictate. So using something like beer, I think there's the potential of almost like overdoing it, but like in one night, I don't think you're going to really risk that. So that's super smart. As far as like Paula with the milk and sugar, I mean, the sugar makes sense to me because you're like feeding yeast with sugar. Like salt kills yeast. I'm sure a lot of people like who bake at home hear that, but sugar really feeds it, and so it will bubble up and it will make it more grand. And so that made sense to me. But the milk is never going to react the same way that water does. And I think they said it tasted like milk bread, which makes sense. I probably wouldn't have done that, but I'm also really not familiar with the style of pizza she was doing, so maybe I'm just not as well versed in that.
Yeah, she was saying she's done that before, but never for pizza dough. So I think that's where the failure happened. Is she was using that same application in a different way, and it just didn't execute. So it was really interesting to see that juxtaposition of Tristan's beer hack versus Paula's milk and sugar, and the drastic differences that it did. Speaking of hacks, I forgot one in Whole Foods. I didn't know about pulling the leaf out of the pineapple to see if it's ripe. I learned something when I was watching that. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, same. I love stuff like that. I feel like that was something Paula just said, and then someone's like, wait, hold on, can you do that one more time? Like for the people at home.
Yeah, it's educational. It's an educational TV
I loved
show.
it.
It was great. And then they take this Niagara cruise the next day as they're taking a break between, and I got to say that looked nuts, and by nuts I mean miserable. Like that looked awful. Like I've always wanted to see Niagara Falls, but now I've pretty much decided I don't want to see it on a boat like that, because everybody looked miserable. Even Vinny was so funny. He's like, "Are you guys liking your time on Top Chef?" It was hilarious.
It was cool to see like that, because when they released the video for the whole season,
Yeah.
that was like the big promo. And so it's also interesting to think when they recorded that, you don't know people's faces too well at this point, but to realize that it's like basically halfway through the competition, like I just remember a few faces from the first trailer we got, but now I'm like, oh man, they were the only ones on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a weird full circle thing. I've seen Niagara Falls in person. We did like a Maid of the Mist tour when I was a kid.
Cool.
It was pretty cool. But I probably would not have I probably would have been on that boat the entire time, really worried that they were about to pull out like a knife block and be like, choose what, blah, blah, blah. And you're cooking while you're getting splashed in the face.
That would make a great challenge. Cook at Niagara Falls there. But Massimo, yeah, Massimo was loving it. I mean, he was just like taking it all in, letting the water spray in his face. It's like, it was invigorating. I loved it. I was like, oh,
He's
that
like
looks
dog out the window in a car.
right in a rainstorm.
Yeah.
Hilarious. But yeah, I'm not gonna go on a Niagara Falls boat tour. I'll see it from the top. That'll be great. So let's talk about some of the cooks here. Henry had to pivot. Luckily, he brought some rice. He was going to try to do the sushi pizza thing, but with the pho inspired ingredients that he was trying to do. It didn't work. He was rushed. He didn't crisp up the rice, and the chefs and the judges called him out on it. They said, that's, you're a chef. You see that rice needs to be crisp up. Why wouldn't you not crisp it up? And he ended up serving like a rice bowl instead of a pizza. So what did you think about, where do you think his head was? You've been there. He didn't have the ingredient. He fumbled at Whole Foods, and then you have to pivot. Like where's your head at during that type of thing?
You know what I wanted him to say? I wanted him to say like, Schwei threw out my dough.
So let me through, please. He threw out my dough.
I thought it would be funny. Like, honestly, like just for the bit, I think that would go so far to come out. Like, maybe not, right? But I would make that joke. I would be like, guys, listen, 2 weeks in a row, like, you're sorry. But in all seriousness, I thought it was smart. He had rice in his bag. I think it's like a catch-all. I never would have thought to bring something like rice because I'm like, oh, you can always get rice. That's not something that's like. I think I viewed the secret ingredients as like things that would be unattainable. Once I was in Wisconsin, where I didn't think about it as like, what is something that would be versatile that I could use for almost any challenge if I have like a 911. Which I thought the rice was a smart pack. As far as like what he did with it, you don't really have many other choices. I thought it was funny that he called himself out. Like they said sushi pizza, and so here's your sushi pizza. You just do what you got to do. But yeah, I mean, I think the writing was on the wall for that one.
Yeah, yeah, and again, to bookend it with what he said at the beginning, he's like, "Oh, I'm letting my walls down. I'm approaching these challenges differently," and then just have this high low of an episode for him was really tough to watch. But we'll talk about that at judges table a little bit later on. Lana was funny. She was like, "Oh, my oxtails came out cute. Like, not came out perfect or tender or just how I wanted. They came out cute." I was like, "That's kind of funny. That's interesting."
She's just a funny character. I really enjoy watching her.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's great. I just thought it stuck out. It was a line that just wasn't passing, but it stuck out because I've never heard people describe food as cute. And I was like,
it's a good vibe.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, it's a good vibe. So let's talk about service. So all 70 people are out there, and the judges are sitting there, and they come out in groups of 3. So the first 3 were Shuai, Tristan, and Lana. Shuai had a scallion pancake pizza with cumin Szechuan lamb, mozzarella topped with an herb salad called a tiger salad. The judges called it bright and fresh. They liked the scallion pancake, played to his strengths. I would eat that. It looked great. I love a scallion pancake. Yeah. I love lamb. Never had a cumin Szechuan lamb, but that sounds delicious. And I love a good herb salad. Like I love, oh gosh, it just left me. The bitter greens that go on a salad. Oh man, my mind just went blank. I'll remember it later.
Is it an herb?
Well, no, it's a lettuce, like a leaf.
Like radicchio?
Like radicchio. Yeah, like that. Oh my gosh. Why is it leaving my brain? Anyway. We'll get there. But yeah, it looked good. What'd you think of Shuai's scallion pancake crust?
I thought it was great. Is this like the 5th scallion pancake we've seen this season? Is this
I think so.
And that's okay. But like, I was like, wow, they love scallion pancakes. I've literally talked about this with multiple people. Like, I was just like, we've seen a lot of this. They're one of my favorite things. So I think it's great. I think out of all the uses that we've seen them in so far, this is probably the best one.
Yeah, I mean, it's so versatile, right? I mean, you can make them thin. You can make thin like a crepe. You can make them thick like a pizza crust. And, as long as you have that kind of scallion-y pancake, signature type of thing, it still works. And for Shuai, it worked really good. And he played to his strengths. Tristan made lamajun, I think I'm pronouncing that right, an Armenian kind of flatbread topped with lamb, pickled grapes. Wow. And served with anchovy ranch. Again, my God, this guy is cooking on a different level. His brain is in a different atmosphere than I think all the other chefs are at this point in the game. Very creative. Pickled grapes, lamb, very Greek, very Mediterranean. Well, maybe not Greek, but very Mediterranean. Big hit. Anchovy ranch was a hit all around. That sounds great.
Are you a ranch on pizza person? Do you like that?
I am a ranch on a pizza person. I'm more of a ranch to dip the crust in. So I'll eat it down to the crust and then I'll dip the crust in the ranch because there's usually nothing on the edge of the crust. But yeah, anchovy ranch sounds great.
Delicious.
And the guy that said bottle it up and sell it, if he's not doing that now, he probably did on watching it back and probably should. Spicy and tangy, they said. Tom likes the ranch. Apparently he doesn't like ranch, but he liked this ranch.
I know Kristen's mouth dropped.
Yeah. So I think Tom and ranch is like Tom and
okra.
Oh my God, what's okra? Yeah. My brain is like, what am I doing today?
We're finishing each other's sentences.
I know. So it's always cool to see Tom like something that he doesn't like. So big hit all around, high praise. Tristan's just doing great. The only thing I think that can screw him up, I don't know, Restaurant Wars, the sneak peek into Restaurant Wars kind of saw a little bit of that. So I don't know, maybe we'll see how he does in a team environment of that size, but individually, awesome.
A lot of really, really, really great chefs. I mean, wasn't Kristen the executive chef and she got,
Yep.
yeah, right. And so you can have like a really great chef and it can be, Tristan can just keep succeeding if he's on his own and he doesn't get in his own way and he's just creating good flavors and he can do his own timing and there's nothing, right. But, and not to say that it would be somebody else tanking him, but the second that you have, 4 other chefs, and you are the strongest one, they probably like, it looks like he's executive chef of his team.
Mhm.
Sorry, I don't want to get too ahead, but like I could
Right.
very easily see it being like, Tristan, please, and him being like, yeah, I feel comfortable doing this. I'm happy to do this. And then it's a lot of weight to bear. I'm
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah.
Anyways.
We'll see how it goes. But for right now, he's on another level.
Right now, yeah.
On another level. Lana. So Lana did a honey squash sauce type of thing with tamarind barbecue oxtails that looked cute and fried plantain chips. They said it was baked well, but the puree was too dry. I've never heard of a puree being dry. Like, how does that happen? It's a puree. Like, how did...
That makes sense to me. Like I could almost imagine like the way that it seemed like she roasted it and then scooped it and whatever, right? So a honey nut squash, I also wonder like how different the water content is. Like, essentially it's like a smaller, sweeter butternut. But I was curious if like she kind of went overboard in the sense of like, I don't want too much liquid. I thought her pizza looked beautiful. Like it looked really good.
Look good.
And I just wonder maybe if it was like was there cheese?
I didn't catch cheese on there.
I don't think there was.
She didn't mention it. Yeah. That might have
So
helped.
maybe that's what they mean. I mean, squash and cheddar is like one of my favorite combos. So it's like, I think that she could have incorporated a cheese that would have just added fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably so.
Wet.
But they said overall, they said it was okay. It just wasn't executed well, which I think we saw in in the cooking there. And then the next 3, we had Henry, Cesar, and Bailey. So Henry had his sushi pizza with the pho marinated brisket, herb pesto, and hoisin sriracha aioli. They said the flavor profile was fine, but it wasn't a pizza. And I tend to agree. I mean, it was falling apart as they were trying to eat it. Because he didn't crisp up both sides. And I think if he did that, it might have been a different story, but it was essentially a rice bowl. So I think, he's on the bottom, obviously, for this, but just kind of watching that downward spiral happening in real time I was feeling bad for the guy, especially after a Quickfire win. What did you think of the sushi pizza? A little too on the nose for one, but...
A little too on the nose. I mean, you do what you do. You do what you got to do, I guess. But Lana was really nice to share some flour. I mean, I felt like bad when he opened it and he's, that moment of just like, oh, God, it's not going to work out. I'm happy that at this point in the competition, like we're not seeing somebody double down on a bad idea. He like pushed it to the side and kept it moving. But I think even if he crisped up both sides, it probably still would have been the one that went home because he's like the only one that didn't make a job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So. That's true. And then Cesar did a mole negro pizza with chicken thighs, black bean salsa, and crispy chicken skin. I mean, on paper, sounds fantastic. I love crispy chicken skin, the black bean salsa. I love mole. So all of that, like as a dish on a plate, sounds good. And on a pizza, it should taste good. But he did not understand, I guess, or he didn't know that cocoa powder would burn so easily. And that's what got him. It was just burnt on bitter on bitter. And I think, was it Wiley? Yeah, I didn't know that either. And I think Wiley Dufresne said that. He's like, yeah, we tried cooking with cocoa powder and discovered that it burnt too easily, and so we didn't do it. But I get why he tried. You got to get that chocolate of the mole in there, integrated somehow. So I like the thought process, but it just didn't quite work out. What'd you think of Caesar's pizza?
My favorite, quote from the entire episode was "cocoa dough," like just him walking around saying "cocoa dough," like. That was my main thought. I mean, I thought it sounded delicious. I probably would have made the same mistake. I didn't realize that, but it makes sense, right? Like you can put cocoa powder and other things that you're normally like baking in, right? Like in a sense of like not hot, immediate heat. So that makes sense, but I wouldn't have realized it either. I do like, the way his mind works. Him and Tristan, it's like, I love both of their brains.
Yeah. I mean, good on Caesar for swinging for the fences. I mean, that
Yeah.
that pickled custard really gave him some confidence. I will say this because we see that in this episode of him trying some really weird things that shouldn't go together. Because it worked once, I'm going to keep trying it, and I'm sure I'm going to hit it again. And the salmon cappuccino thing, beside what it was, I mean, it looked great plated. It was a cute little cup, looked like a
Yeah.
cappuccino. So I appreciate him doing that. But at some point, you kind of have to think about, okay, let me think this through a little bit. What made the pickle custard great? What did I do there that I can apply to other things? It's like, again, we talked about this before, the Taika Waititi effect of Thor Love and Thunder. It was funny. Thor Ragnarok was funny, but don't add screaming goats. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's see
Or like
how he does.
I mean, he's far enough now to where like these things made him stand out, but you're getting to the point where if you make those mistakes and it doesn't land, you will go home.
Right. It was funny at first, not so funny now. Like, get it together. But I do like it. I do like his thought process and his creativity. But he needs to kind of start reining that in. So we'll see. Bailey did a chicken parm pizza with a tijal bread. Provolone, Parmesan, Pecorino. The crust was undercooked. Seemed like a mass-produced pizza, which you don't want to see in this challenge because they're looking for creativity. They're looking for pizza that pushes the boundaries. And this was essentially like, I mean, I've had chicken parm pizza. It's just, it's fine, but it didn't meet the challenge. I don't think it wasn't pushing boundaries. It wasn't crazy enough for a pizza. What are your thoughts?
It's like, and I say like it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. It's like it's not delivery, it's Bailey. But I think she like made a good flavor. I mean, like again, I love Kristen's palate because she's like so refined and can do all this stuff. But like at her heart, it seems like she just loves like fast food and like kid chicken tenders and I mean, stuff like this. And like this pizza probably spoke to her, especially when they were like talking about the cornmeal or whatever, I don't like it. She's like, no, this is why I like it. And I was thinking, I know what she means. Like there's very certain brands of like frozen pizza that I can recall that flavor or that texture with. So I don't know, like I probably think it was a good bite. It just wasn't the most creative, well executed. Like they gave you they want chaos pizza.
Yeah, exactly. I thought about your chaos challenge when that came out. Like everybody was confused on the chaos challenge, and I don't think people were confused on the pizza challenge, but it was very open ended. I mean, it was just like make a pizza, make it great, go crazy.
Make
like
it
they're giving you permission just to go nuts. And she kind of was reserved a little, trying to play it safe, which she was safe. So there's that. But yeah, it didn't push the boundaries enough. And then we get to Massimo. Massimo couldn't stop talking about how much he worked at a pizza restaurant and how it became the reason why he's a chef. So he's kind of going into this challenge like, I got this. And again, every time they do this, it doesn't end well for them. But he made a Napolitana style pizza with fermented parsley paste, potatoes, mussels, and clams. Crust apparently was great, and the potatoes were just a little under. And then seafood and cheese. Where do you land on seafood and cheese?
I think it's okay, right? Like I think like this dish made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'll say. I think every seafood and cheese dish that has ever been spoken of out loud, I would have to be like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Just based off personal preference. But like this one I thought sounded great. I really was interested in the fermented parsley paste.
Yeah, I kind of wish we saw a little bit more of that because what does that taste like? I mean, what does that look like? That
sounds
was
really
interesting. Yeah, it sounds interesting. But when they announced the winners, we'll get to judge table here in a minute. But when they announced the winners, the dejected face of Massimo.
I know.
I mean, kudos to the editors on that one because he probably was thinking in his head, I should have been up there because he does have a high opinion of himself, which we all know. Fine line between ego and cocky, right? But he was like, I worked at a pizza restaurant, and then he didn't win. And he's like, what the heck? What did you think about that?
Definitely disappointed. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know. It's hard without really tasting them. I mean, and also visually, you can have a pizza that looks really good, but it's like you could flip it over and be like, no, what's going on here? I mean, overall, I think I was surprised Massimo wasn't in the top. I guess, to be honest, I just based off of like his confidence and then the way it looked, I thought it looked decent. But also it's just one of those things. It's like, just because you've done this, blah, 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 blah. It's like the Top Chef kitchen, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know, like if someone can just like, it's such an open-ended pizza challenge that like, it doesn't really matter if you made like this great dough for years and years and years, because someone could just make a scallion pancake and reinvent it and they'll like that more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, disappointed. He looked rough. Paula did a pineapple braised pork pizza with caramelized onions, chimichurri, and Mornay sauce. They said the dough was too soft. This was the milk sugar fermentation hack, I think. But they said the pork was nice. But yeah, they said it tasted like milk bread. That it was doughy. Even some of the diners outside are like, yeah, this was raw dough, man. This was awful. I didn't even finish it. I was like, ooh, that's rough. That's
rough.
That's got to be tough, right? But it's you win some, you lose some, and the milk sugar thing, she knows now. Don't apply it to pizza dough, and you'll be fine. So let's talk about Vinny. So proud of Vinny in this episode. He really finally kind of let loose as a guy like Vinny can be at this point of the competition. I think it'll come out more. But he cooks very buttoned up, right? He's a very buttoned up chef. But this pizza challenge kind of allows you to not be that and be okay. But he makes a Reuben pizza with everything that's in a Reuben sandwich. And he equated it to this is what his brother makes on Saturdays in the backyard in their outdoor pizza oven. And this is where I want to see Vinny go. He's relating this to home. He's cooking from a place of love and not from a place of his head. But he was having fun, and it looked like it. He's coming out of his shell. It was great. What'd you think?
It reminds me, we talked last week, right? And it was like, I think what I said was like, what do you cook at home for like your partner or something, right? Like, and him saying, well, my brother actually makes this. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Benny. Like, this is what I was talking about. The idea of like, what do you make for people you love, or what is like that family nostalgic like memory? Like, everyone likes a Reuben, right? You know, and to take a Reuben and just like execute those ingredients really well and put it on a pizza takes talent, right? But like, the reason this worked is because of the story. And I think him just saying Reuben pizza, they would not have been as impressed as like, oh, well, you know, my brother actually makes this. And like, you know, it's the story, it's the whole thing. That's what they want. If he went up there and said, at the Nomad, we make Reuben pizza, and it was on our bar menu and people loved it, I don't think they would have cared for it as much.
Yeah. How much does a story, when you're presenting to judges, especially on Top Chef, how much does the story play into the judging of the food, do you think?
I don't think that you can like wrap a pretty story around a shit plate and like call it, you know, winning dish. But I do think that you could tell a beautiful story that takes a potentially mediocre to decent dish, and like, to them, it's off the charts. And like, I don't mean that you can fool anybody, because that's not at all what I'm saying. I just think that it's like, when you know that there's a reason behind somebody doing something versus, I don't know. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I feel like I can taste that. But I think that that's the way I view the show. And I feel like it kind of usually checks out. Like, the dishes that have these stories are always solid dishes to begin with, but they will always beat out another solid dish that doesn't have a story. Like, they want to know who you are. What's your point of view?
Yeah. Point of view, take me somewhere, right? Take me on a trip, take me to your childhood, take me to your backyard where you're cooking Reuben pizzas every other Saturday or whatever. I want to feel like I'm there.
Yeah, the ultimate challenge of the finale of Top Chef is cook, you know, a progressive meal that tells your story. So like, that is what they want, and they want you to like be building that muscle all season.
Yeah. So good job, Vinny. Keep it up. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Keep coming out of that shell. So let's get to judges table. So the top was Vinny, Tristan, and Shuai. Tristan, I'm not surprised, won. He won the elimination challenge, but honestly, it could have been any of these three, and I would have been fine with it. We talked about Massimo looking pretty bad. But yeah, I think you play rock, paper, scissors, and whoever wins the elimination challenge. All three of these, I think, were equally as good. Tristan,
Yeah.
I think, got the edge a little bit again, just for his inventiveness, like pickled grapes on pizza. That's the wild, crazy pizza that people were talking about. You would eat that
Yeah.
kind of pizza, and then you would go home and think about, I just ate pickled grapes on a pizza, and I think that's what the judges were looking for.
Yeah. And I loved it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
me
because
too.
they don't want you to like recreate a sushi pizza or, even like Paula, like putting pineapple on pizza. They want you, what is the next pineapple pizza? It's like, what is Tristan's in his kitchen? And oh man, I'm just going to put grapes on this. And now we have this thing that, like that's kind of what they wanted to see. I think he does a good job of like knowing what they want, and he's very talented and has all these skills, but he can really direct them in the right path, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So good job, Tristan. That's his third win, just 7 episodes in. Third win, final elimination challenge, final immunity, which is great to have immunity at Restaurant Wars. I mean, how nice is it to have
Oh,
that
wait,
in your
I didn't
pocket?
even think about that when
I
I
just
was
now thought
saying I
about
was
that.
worried.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're fine. I'm not worried anymore. Okay. I, I,
I
I
just,
just
yeah,
love him.
yeah.
Sorry,
Continue.
we're
I'm
both
sorry.
speechless.
I know,
We're
right?
literally speechless over Tristan. I think I have one little silly thing I was going to tell you. So he worked for Marcus Samuelsson, right?
Uh huh.
And he talks about that, and you see it. The one thing that I had a light bulb moment. Okay, when I was in Aspen for Food and Wine last year, we had to do a live quickfire demonstration, and it was me,
Ooh.
Dan, and Danny was supposed to be there, but unfortunately, he had to leave early, and Shoda stepped in actually. So it was myself, and it was Shoda, and it was Dan, and we did a quick fire, and we had to cook off, and the only ingredients that we had, essentially, we got randomly assigned like a station, and your station may only have the oven and a blender and all of these leftover ingredients from like an A-list celebrity demo earlier in the weekend. And so the joke was that like the top chef people are coming in, we're going to use all these like celebrity chef scraps. And I coincidentally got the station that was Marcus Samuelsson's scraps. Okay. And what I'm getting at is I won that quickfire. And I remember like laughing and telling like Dan and them being like, I mean, obviously we had like such a quick time to make a dish, and we picked a random lady from the audience who came up and like judged it. So it's kind of just for fun. But the things that he had made, the condiments, the sauces, like he had this coconut aioli that I'll never forget because like just to begin with, coconut
Yeah.
aioli. So I think that without ever having really had Marcus Samuelsson's food, I got to use his byproduct and his leftovers. And I remember thinking like, I'm going to win this. And I thought that 5 minutes in because the stuff was so good that I got to start with. And I literally like laughing now. I'm like, this is Tristan's mentor. It makes
Wow.
sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. 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 For sure. So you can
Silly.
you see shades of Samuelson in Tristan's cooking as you're watching this.
I just think that like it made me realize like, wow, this guy's insane. Like even then, like last year or whatever, like I've never eaten at his restaurants, but like just like the access I've had to taste a few of these sauces is like very creative, very inventive, very well executed. And then to see Tristan so creative and so inventive, it makes sense. But
Yeah.
that was just a little silly. I was like, wait, hold on.
What a great story. So you had a little bit of a head start on your little quick fire thing.
I knew it. And I even said after, I was like, we got the win, you know what I mean? And it feels good. But I was like, you guys, I have to be honest, like, try this coconut aioli. I did nothing to it. You know what I mean? Like,
You can put that thing on a flip flop and it'll taste fantastic. That's funny.
yeah.
Awesome.
Anyways.
So on the bottom we have Paula, Henry, and Cesar. Kristen asked, "Why do you think you're standing here?" And that question goes hard. Like I heard that and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in trouble and I'm in the principal's office.
Yeah.
These little phrases that they're said so quick and in passing, but when you think about the deeper meaning of why they're asking that, it's like we said earlier, it's pretty heady. So what did you think about kind of that? I mean, did you have any thoughts on that or?
Yeah. I mean, it's worse when they're like, no, you tell me why.
You tell me
mean?
why you suck today.
Yeah. What's worse than that? And be like, I'm just going to let you really think about it. Well, and they really want you to learn. So, I mean, it's good TV
Yeah.
at the end of the day as well.
I was like, oh man, it's like when you get caught for speeding. Do you know why I pulled you over today, sir? I was
I know
speeding.
normally when I get pulled over and they ask me that, I name like 5 things and they're like, we only clocked 2 of those, but hold on, what are the other what?
Thank you for that open admission of guilt. We making my job easy. So Henry was eliminated. The Asian sensations are no more, which is sad. Not really surprised though. I mean, he didn't really make a pizza. He made a rice bowl dish, which I'm sure tasted fine, but it wasn't a pizza. But he
Yeah.
had such a high-low episode this episode. I mean, he wins the quickfire. At least he gets to walk away with 10K, so he's now walking away empty-handed. But having that emotional opening of I see what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to go for it, and I'm out. It was just so emotional, and so I felt so bad for the guy. And he goes straight to LCK. And one thing I thought was interesting is as they were having their emotional goodbye with Henry, they all yell "freeze on set," which is that something that was I didn't understand what that meant.
That's what they. I didn't understand what they said. They said freeze on set.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, is that something that the producers said a lot of when you're doing your competitions and you're cooking? They're like, freeze on set. They got to reset or something like that.
Well, what they say is ice on set. So that makes sense. Like normally saying ice means like shut up. Like ice is be quiet, because it's like hard ice means no talking. And essentially it's like you want to save all of the really good bits for TV, right? So if we finish cooking and I'm talking to Cesar and he's like, oh, my cocoa dough is no good, and a producer walks up and they're like, hold on, we're about to put you in the stew room. Like, stop talking about this because I want like your genuine conversation in 5 minutes. I don't want it right now. And so they'll say like, chef's hard ice. So I wonder if they were saying like freeze on set in reference to that.
Yeah.
I don't
know. But it was all emotional. People were crying, and then they all yelling in unison,
know.
freeze on set. So that's got to be some behind the scenes stuff. So good to know. Maybe they
They're
wanted
friends.
to hold their emotion in and not let it all out at once, I guess. I don't know. So let's talk about Last Chance Kitchen real quick. So we got Katiana versus Henry, and the challenge was to make a dish with fresh dough in 30 minutes. Hard challenge. I mean, you're talking about making a dough in 30 minutes. I think you're really obviously limited in what kind of dough you can make. I'm imagining you go with like a fry dough or a fry bread type of thing, right? And kind of Katiana did a half and half sort of thing, and Henry did a wonton. What kind of bread dough can you make in 30 minutes? And while you're cooking everything else.
I don't know. This was really hard. Like, I feel like, I'll be honest, this might have been the moment when I would have tried to make a scallion pancake. Like, I know we've been joking about that. It all of it's difficult. Like, I mean, if you're not, like Tatiana said, you don't have chill time, you don't have rest time, whatever. Like, there are things, like you said, like flatbreads, like quick things, but like, they obviously had to have access to like different types of yeast, because that's super, right? If you have, again, even in 30 minutes, like instant yeast is like, that's still like, oh, you still need at least this much time. Anything you're doing, you're absolutely pushing it. And this would have been a good time to like use beer or something like that. But I feel like my mind was like, maybe I would have gone scallion pancake. I think I would try to do any sort of dough where I can essentially like incorporate lamination.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Tom is wanting to have a full-on conversation while somebody's cooking. How distracting is that? Like you're cooking with literal minutes on the clock, and Tom's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Oh, what's that over there?" Like he's wanting to have this full-on conversation with you.
Yeah, I'd be like, chef, I'm busy. Like, no front of house in the kitchen. Get out. Like,
because and poor Katiana's like running around trying to do all this, and he's just like gingerly following her around. Oh, what you doing there? I'm like, get out of my kitchen, man! Like I'm trying to do something here.
I immediately would get so petty about it. I would be like, okay, now you need to go ask him as many questions as you asked me.
Right.
Like, make it fair. Let's make it fair.
There's 2 of us in here. Go bother him.
Yeah.
So Katiana makes a pot pie seafood chowder with a crumble dough and then kind of like a bread thing on the side. Tom said had a nice tender dough with good flavor, creamy chowder. I thought the chowder looked fantastic. I love a good corn chowder. And Henry made a pan-seared wonton filled with pork soy scallions with a sour broth and a garlic scallion emulsion, a lot of scallion. And Tom said broth was a little bit on the weak side. And because of that, Henry's actually eliminated. So just kind of kicking a man while he's down, having this epiphany moment at the beginning, wins Quickfire, loses the elimination challenge, loses the last chance kitchen, and you're gone. Just this huge like roller coaster of an episode for the guy. I felt bad for him.
I know.
But Katiana moves on. Your number one pick, still surviving in Last Chance Kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah.
My girl. I was hoping that Henry was going to walk in and be like, Katiana, Tristan won again. You know, like catching her up on the goss.
Yeah.
I know she's great. I thought, I mean, watching it the whole time, I actually thought Henry might have it. I think they kind of played it up like that. You know, this reminds me of like my childhood. I love this and blah, blah, blah. And whenever he was like, I love crab rangoon, I thought he was going to be like, Tom, do you like that too? Hold on, let me make crab rangoon really quick. It was silly. I thought this episode was good. I'm really finding myself like latching on more to everyone. So
yeah,
it's going to get harder and harder.
Getting like emotionally invested in these people, like unnaturally so, which, you know, when you do an episodic recap of a TV show, that's what happens. So let's get right into the draft points. So for my team, we had Paula on the bottom of the judge table, so she gets -2 points for my team. Shwai was on the top. He gets 3 points, and Big Tristan wins 7 points for my team. I'm loving that draft pick. My God, he's just killing it for me. Killing it for. I need him to sweep like the next 2 episodes, and I'm golden.
I would say you can probably bet that might happen.
It's gonna happen at some point. I need those bonus points. So for your team, Caesar was on the bottom of the judges table for -2 points. Henry won the Quickfire with 3 points, and Katiana has her LCK win with 2 points, and Vinny was on the top of the judge table for 3 points. So for an episode total, I win the episode 8-6. So a slim margin of 2. Overall points so far through 7 episodes total, it is me with 72 and you with 60. So I'm up by 12, but we got still got a lot to go. And I am really excited about Restaurant Wars. I think of all the episodes for Top Chef fans outside of the finale, Restaurant Wars is everyone's favorite. It's a reason why this one challenge is a mainstay through 22 seasons. It's been on every single season. It'll never go away. So filled with drama. And surprising eliminations, so really excited to talk about it next week. And Tristan does have the final immunity, so he's good. But it doesn't mean he can't, fall on his face and put up just a crap dish based on the drama that goes on behind the scenes. I don't foresee that happening. But we kind of saw some sneak peeks in there. We saw Massimo in a suit, so he's front of house, which is a perfect pick for front of house.
It was literal comedy. So we're watching this, and it's like he comes on the screen, and I was like, wow, Massimo, perfect, like out loud, perfect pick for front of house. 30 seconds later, and he's like, where's Massimo? And he's like jumping in the dining room, and I was like, don't speak too soon. Don't speak too soon. I'm sure he will be, but it's super funny. Like I'm sure that everyone had that exact same chain of like thought,
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about Restaurant Wars next week. I have so many questions just about the whole structure, the format, the actual stress behind it. I mean, we may have to block off an extra hour to talk about Restaurant Wars, but super excited. But for now, we did it. We talked about more pizza than I think I will ever care to talk about ever in my life, but it was a fun episode. I'm so glad you were able to make it again and continuing this journey with me. Where can people follow you for any exciting events coming up this week for your restaurant at M Tempura or any other fun outings that you got going on? Where can people follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at SavvySav, and stay tuned. I'll actually be, by the time this comes out, a few days after this comes out, I'll be heading to New Jersey for the Food and Wine Festival. So I'll be seeing Sue and Michelle, which will be fun.
Nice.
But just lots of little things here and there happening. But stay tuned on Instagram, I would say.
Tell Sue I said hi. He was on my pod.
I will.
And he was a great guest. I loved him in my interview. So tell him I said hello. And you can follow me on socials at Rich Rare, at Eat Your Content on all regular social media channels, and make sure you hit like and subscribe. If you like what we're doing on this podcast, you want to see more of it, leave a review, leave a comment. If you have any questions for us, leave them in the comments below. If I pick your question, we'll read it and give you a shout out. So Savannah, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. This was fun. I really I think I say this every week, but I'm like, this was a great episode.
Yeah,
This is a good one.
I'm having a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Safe travels to New Jersey.
Thank you, sir.